John Lassiter was born and raised in Akron, graduated from Kenmore now I gotta do this, I forgot my glasses, in 1970. Raising 3 daughters, John became an expert at putting out fires. He did it professionally, too, for a while. With over 27 years on the job, John retired from the Akron Fire Department in 2000. Let me say that again, 27 years of firefighting. Thank you, John, in all seriousness. He keeps busy now officiating basketball in the area and remodeling and rebuilding his 1940 home on the Portage Lakes. Ever a lover of adventure with the sidecar of adrenaline, John still rides his motorcycle as often as he can, even taking road trips to North Carolina and Michigan to visit his 2 married daughters and his brand new first grandchild, a grandson named Rory. He will gladly show you pictures if you ask him after the stories. He kindles the spark of his earlier career as president of the Akron Area Retired Firefighters and Widows Association. John's a lover of live music. I suspect tonight we will see him right up here at the front of Boy Equals Girl. I've heard they're great. He's a supporter of local and national bands, always turning out for a good show. I suspect, sorry. I suspect that's where I first met you, John, was something with one of the 91.3 The Summit shows. With over 27 years of experience firefighting and probably even more going to concerts, I'm thinking that John is one of those guys who's a big fan of the trend to now show your cell phone light instead of lighters to welcome the band on the stage, especially on those dry, hot summer nights in the Blossom Lawn. I can imagine that make you a little twitchy. And so if you will humor me, instead of holding up your cell phones tonight or any lighters, just welcome John with a warm round of applause, please. John Lassiter.
Thank you. Well, good evening. A couple of thanks first to Jilly's Music Room. What they have done here is just amazing. They're dedicated to bringing live music here. Stop in one evening. There's never a cover charge. They have different kinds of music here, and the facilities what they've done here is just amazing. So on your way out, give them thanks for such a nice facility. And also to the Downtown Akron Partnership for putting this together, very much so. I attended the first one, which is at Cascade Plaza last summer, and it was great. And I've tried to make everyone. I've missed 1 or 2, but it's always a good time. Before I get started, how many of you were born and raised in Akron? Can I see hands, please? Thank you. I've been all over the country, and I haven't found a place I like better yet. I've seen very beautiful places, but Akron's my home, and I'll be here forever, probably. You know. My shirt. Just a quick story about how I got this. My oldest daughter and her husband live in Michigan. He works for Albion College. She works at Eastern Michigan. Very career focused, very dedicated to their jobs. And I even questioned whether she would ever have a child. She was so devoted to what she was doing then. She's director of the Women's Center at Eastern Michigan, so she's an advocate of everything to do with women, and having 3 daughters, I support them all very much. So, my birthday's the end of June. I was surprised I didn't get a birthday card from her and John, but I'm not one to call and question them or anything. So the last week of June, she called me and she said, "Your birthday present finally showed up. I'm leaving the post office. Do not open it until we're in front of each other, because we Skype sometimes." I said, okay. So it showed up a couple days later. It was the weekend of my class reunion. I'm on the committee. So it was a busy time. Sunday evening, I texted them. They were home, I was home. So we set up the Skype, started talking. And I said, well, it showed up and it was just a small cardboard box, about that big. And I said, well, can I open this now? And she looks over her shoulder to her husband with a grin on her face and says, yeah, open it. Well, I pull out this shirt and I hold it up and I'm thinking, well, yeah, I can put that in my drawer. I'll be a grandpa someday. And then it hit me. Then the tears came. So the 1st of March, I became a grandfather. My grandson, doing great. I've only been to visit him 3 times since he was born, and was there yesterday. So now, one other thing. Heather mentioned I'm president of the Akron Area Retired Firefighters and Widows Association. We have a very active group. If any of you know any retired firemen, touch base with me. I'll give you one of my cards. Have them call me. We get together once a month. And like I tell the guys that are members of our group, I says, look, if it's someone you want to see, you get to see them once a month. We have lunch, about a 2-minute meeting, you know. I says, if it's someone you don't like, you only have to see them once a month. So it works out well, you know. So when Heather asked me to do this, she was aware I have 3 daughters and I'm retired from the fire department. But what I thought I would relate was a trip that my wife, my ex-wife now, not because of the trip, but in 1982, I put together all my vacation together in the summer. And a couple guys owed me some time off, so I had 6 weeks. She's a teacher, so had the summer off. And we left Akron to head to California on the motorcycle. Now, many times in the mornings, during the day, before we left, her mom would call and beg us not to do it, you know, but we did. And so that it was quite an adventure. We spent 6 weeks on the road. We camped the entire time except for 4 nights. A couple nights we stayed in a motel somewhere, stayed with friends a couple nights in San Diego. But believe me, it's a long haul from here, let's just say, to Denver, you know. Anymore, you could just pick me up, set me in Denver, and I'll go west from there. But we were on the interstate, crossing Kansas. Out west, you can see a storm. You can see a storm 100 miles away. So we could see a storm coming. The wind is picking up. The motorcycle's leaned over into the wind. We're going down the highway. We pass a semi. The guy starts blowing his horn, and he just, as we get next to the cab, he's just pointing to the side of the road, suggesting that we take a break. Fortunately, there was a rest spot coming up, so we pulled off, and we were soaked, but that was just the start of the adventure. The only place we had to be on a specific date was Laguna Seca Raceway. The U.S. Grand Prix motorcycle race was taking place. I had tickets for that. The rest of the time, our calendar was open. So we camped in Manitou Springs, which is just outside of Colorado Springs, intending to be there for 1 night. We liked it so much, we stayed there for 3 nights. So when we're registering, lo and behold, it was a married couple that had the campground, and the lady was from Akron. So, of course, I'm registering, you know, and she goes, oh, you're from Akron. I says, yeah. She goes, so am I. And my wife looks at me and she goes, everywhere we go, I'd run into someone I knew. So while we were there, we went to a dude ranch that has they can feed 2,000 people in like 15 minutes. It's crazy, you know, the old chuck wagon style and stuff. So there was probably, like I said, there was about 2,000 people there, and the MC is introducing the shows that are going to be taking place. And he goes, oh, by the way, who has the green BMW parked out front? Raised my hand. He goes, well, it fell over. And I got up, started to go. He goes, no, I'm just messing with you. He goes, I ride BMWs too, you know? So there was another connection there. So continued riding west across the Rockies. I don't know if any of you ride motorcycles or have ever ridden on a motorcycle. Even if you're just coming downtown, the visual stimulation, you know, you miss so much by being in a car. So riding across the mountains was just breathtaking. Camped in Reno for the 4th of July. I didn't realize it, but the University of Nevada, Reno, has a football stadium right downtown. Well, they had a festival going on for the 4th of July, so we witnessed fireworks in Reno from that. Then we took Highway 50 west. Highway 50 is known as the loneliest road in America, and it leads to the mountains in Northern California. And we got up into the mountains, and there was snow everywhere except on the asphalt itself. We had managed to put every piece of clothing that we had with us on, and it was just beautiful. But coming down out of the mountains, it's like a 7-mile descent. So we came down out of the mountains, and you're pretty close to the ocean, pulled in to peel some clothing off, and kids were pulling in their cars with surfboards and bikinis and swim trunks on. So I said, I think we're a little overdressed. So, we slimmed down a little bit. So we took a week to ride down the coast of California, right on Highway 1, camping along the way. And one of the places we wanted to go to was Yosemite. And so, if you've ever been to Yosemite, the valley floor is pretty crowded. There were no camping spots available there, so we were at a remote spot, probably 10 miles from the main area of the park. Everywhere you go out west, there are signs. Bear country. I mean, if you're standing at the urinal, there's a sign there, bear country, warning, and there's instructions on what to do. You need to, anything that has an odor, toothpaste, food, anything that has an odor, you need to get away from your campsite. So you tie it up in a tree, hide it under a rock away from the tent. We're sleeping on the ground. So one night, it's probably midnight, we're in the tent sleeping, and a family pulls into the campsite next to us. And they're very loud, they've got lights on, they're getting their tent set up, they had some kids. They left 3 coolers sitting out on the picnic table. And about 4 in the morning, we were awoken by very heavy breathing. And, being the ground level, I said, so I'm going to see what that is. Give me the flashlight. So I got the flashlight, zip open the bottom of the tent, peel it up a little bit, bam! I get hit in the face with a rock. Here, 2 bears had come and taken the coolers and had just ripped the tops open and were having a feast. Well, the people that were camping there decided they'd scare the bears away by throwing rocks at them. I happened to be in direct line, missed the bear and got me. So it was rather entertaining. So I said, okay, Mary Lou, I'm going to turn the flashlight on. Just tell me if I'm bleeding. Turn it on, little screen, got my eye, my nose, and below the eye. Good shot, So the next morning, we're walking to the wash house, and we're walking by their campsite, and the fella says, good morning. Mary Lou goes, good morning. I said, don't you talk to them, Jesus, So for 2 weeks, we're traveling, and nobody says anything about, my face being messed up. And we were camping near the Green River in Utah, stopped at a little mom and pop place for breakfast. I had on a shirt that said, it was Class 6 River Rafters. A bunch of guys and I from the job, we'd gone down to the Golly River, did both halves of the Golly River in one day, so I had a shirt from there. Well, there was a table of about a dozen guys sitting there, and one of them got up and came over. Here they were guides on the Colorado River for Grand Canyon dories. And he goes, I used to be a guide for Class 6 river runners in West Virginia. So they invited us to come sit at the table with them, have breakfast. Where we were at was right in between where they put in. They used wood dories, if you know what that. Take a boat, bend the ends up, that's a dory. And where they put in at, and where they take out at, this place was just about midpoint. So they had a warehouse there, and said, why don't you come over and look at our stuff, look at our equipment and stuff. I said, okay, I'll do that. So we followed them, went over, and for probably 10 years afterwards, I got an invite every year to come. When they open the season, all the employees get to go a week early, do the river. I got invited to do that, but the following year we started our family, so I really didn't get a chance to take advantage of it. So we did all kinds of neat things in California. Camped on the beach at Monterey Bay, went to the amphitheater in San Diego, outdoor amphitheater to see a play, and it's near an airport. And when the planes go by, they're much quieter now than they were, airplanes much quieter now than they were then. Everybody would freeze on the stage. And then as soon as the plane was gone, they'd continue. It was great, it was great. So we also got to see the Grand Canyon, and right across Death Valley, we approached the western edge of it, and I said, well, it was in the evening, I said, let's just wait till after dark when things cool down. So it was probably 9:30 when it finally got dark, so we started across Death Valley. It does not cool down. I mean, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, it was still 105 degrees out there. It was really something. So, one thing, let me back up just a minute. One of the things I wanted to do when I left was, I'd seen these pictures of redwood trees with the arches cut out that you can drive through or walk through. I says, I want a picture of me riding my motorcycle through one of these trees. Well, it's not really permitted, but there are so many places out there. We were in the Redwood National Forest, pulled into a small parking lot. There was nobody else there, and the tree was, the arch in the tree was maybe 6 feet at the base. So I looked around, no one was there. I said, Mary Lou, I'm riding through that tree, get a picture of it. So we did. So that was one goal. But heading back, went to the Grand Canyon. That was just gorgeous. So now we're heading home, and that return home, you just don't have the sense of adventure that you do to get there. Rode across Death Valley at night. So the first place we saw a phone booth, pulled over to call ahead to make hotel reservations in Vegas for that night. And I'm standing at the payphone. How many of you young people know what a payphone is? And I opened my wallet so I could have my credit card right there while I'm talking. And I walked away from it and left it there. Pull into the parking lot in Vegas, reach for my wallet, and I know right where it is. It's not in my pocket. So, fortunately, able to recover, the wallet was gone when we went back. I got half of it about a month later, and the other half about 6 weeks later, but it all showed up. Somebody probably found it and dropped it in the mailbox, but the U.S. Postal Service got it back to me. And the return home wasn't quite as adventurous as some of the things that happened on the road, but that 6 weeks was so memorable. That's something I'll remember till I die. I recently found the photo album from it. So to sit down and go through that from something that occurred 34 years ago just brought back all the memories. So I thought I would really relay a couple of the stories that happened on that trip. We were glad to get back to Akron, and we never got to take another 6-week vacation once the family rolled around, but that was an adventure of a lifetime. And it all started here and ended here. Thank you.